Ride the Flavor Wave. I'm Private Chef Don Glees. On the wave today, a New York strip steak with Boursin cheese and a beautiful Merlot reduction. Before we get started, I would like to explain to you what is meant by the flavor wave. And here we go. When complementary flavors splashing on the tongue, starting as a ripple, then building for 25 plus seconds into a Class 5 wave, hitting every taste bud, the flavors build and roll into a feeling of tingly bliss, unique to the chemistry of each dish. Okay, that being said, let's get delicious. First things first, we have our Merlot wine reduction as part of this recipe, and that process takes the longest. So to get started, and I'll explain this further as we go along, I'll put a cup and a half of delicious Merlot wine. Now, people ask me all the time, Don, is it important the quality of the wine that goes into my dish? All I'm doing is reducing it, usually by 2/3, and presenting it at the table as a sauce. My answer to that, let's turn this up all the way, and that will reduce by 2/3. Then we'll finish that. I'm stepping around here a little bit, but we'll finish it with fresh chives, flat leaf parsley, and butter. Make a smooth sauce. But yeah, the quality in, quality out. If you serve quality at your table, whatever your price level is, whatever your quality level is, put that in the pot and reduce it. Serve that with your dishes. It's very important. It's all about quality in this life, and especially in the kitchen, because delicious food, fresh food, quality product with proper technique translates to a finished end product that's just delicious. You see, we have a new segment. It's called Ask the Chef, and that is my question over there, but we'll get to that. Now, next up is our Boursin cheese. Now, I'm only having one person over for dinner tonight, so I'm going to be preparing 2 New York strip steaks, but this recipe is for 6. And what I have here is a delicious little block of Boursin cheese, and the flavor is herb and garlic. Hence, there's no garlic going into our sauce. You didn't see that. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to cut this into 6 wedges. And when the steak is grilled, the last minute of grilling time, the cheese is put on top, and it just softens slightly. It doesn't melt like a mozzarella would on pizza, but it just softens, and it still maintains its shape. So again, we'll just cut this down like this. Oh, and we'll cut it once, and then we'll cut it again. And again, we have little wedges here. But like I said, I'll have to find another application for the other 4 because I'm just preparing a couple steaks this evening for myself and my guest, a high school friend. So there we are. We don't want to waste anything here, so waste not, want not, as they say. Okay, that's it. And last minute, I thought, Don, what can you show your guests? Excuse me for a moment. Thank you. What can you put on that platter that's simple, that's complementary with the wine sauce, and that wouldn't clash, would enhance the platter and the plate? And I thought, let's bring a little bit of acid in there into the Merlot. Let's bring a balsamic. So serve some asparagus. I'll blanch that off later. I'll show you how to cook it perfectly. It's in boiling water. It's a matter of 2 minutes to come out a vibrant green. You see this here. And of course, it's being stored and overnighted in, if that's a word. I've never been nighted, so don't call me sir. In some water, a water bath. What you do is you cut your woody end off, or you break it off, place it in the water in the fridge, and it stays hydrated. You can keep it 2 or 3 days like that. As you can see, it's a beautiful asparagus. It's not dehydrated at all. And I'll blanch that in 2 minutes on the platter. A little olive oil, balsamic vinegar, salt and pepper, maybe a little garlic for depth of flavor, and that's that. Let's take a look at our sauce over here. You can see it's bubbly, it's reducing. Again, I put a cup and a half in, and where we're at right now, it's probably got to come down about another 1/4 inch, where we're just using the bottom of this pan. Like I said, about 1/3 of what I put in there we're going to use. It'll get syrupy and thick, and all the alcohol's cooked out, but all of nature's bounty is left in. Okay, while our sauce is reducing, I will start our asparagus in a moment. I will grab the steaks, and we'll get those grilling. Again, 2 beautiful, fresh cut today New York strip steaks. The only seasoning on these is just a little pepper Both sides, of course. Whoops. Slippery when wet, and a little salt. Again, I always use sea salt, fine grind, or if you want to get the coarse grind and grind it in your grinder, that's fine too. I will scrub this hand. I will knock the salt off this hand, and let's get grilling. Okay. Now when grilling, I usually don't grill on high. I usually grill on medium high. It gives me that little margin of error, and it sears enough to give you a nice grill mark and keep the juices in. So the cook time on these are probably 3/4 inch thick steaks. I would say 4 minutes aside. And then that last minute when I turn it over covered for that Boursin cheese just to soften slightly. So this will take, like I said, probably another 7 or 8 minutes. So let's go back inside. Let's finish up. Go back in the kitchen, halfway to delicious. Back to our sauce that's been reduced down to 1/3 of its original volume. And to that, I would like to add some chives, a couple tablespoons of chives. Again, whenever you do a reduction of wine, you put your fresh ingredient in last, like an herb or an onion or even some fresh shaved garlic. Otherwise, what you have is you have something that doesn't add any freshness. It gets all wrung out. It's not vibrant, and the brightness of the flavor is lost in the sauce. Again, a couple tablespoons of flat leaf parsley. Now the other parsley, the curly, I only use that for garnish. I don't find that it has a lot of flavor. I don't know if you have that issue, but this is almost cilantro. It's got like a little peppery flavor to it, and that's what you're looking for. Again, trying to stay on a small cutting board with things that jump around. It's not easy. Again, I know you're looking at that question over there. It's coming right up. Within the next 3 or 4 minutes, hopefully I'll be able to answer the question, and we all may learn something. Again, there we go. I think I'm finished with this now. I'll just set this over here in the sink. Now, you get to learn how to infuse butter into a sauce. Again, this is about 1/3, I'd say, to 1/2 a cup of Merlot reduction. To that, we'll add cold butter, whisk it in, probably, I'd say, about a 1/2 stick in the end. You'll see that it melts. Now, you don't want to overwhelm it. You don't want the butter to separate the milk from the fat, so you do it slowly like this, one pat at a time. And you can see it smells like Napa Valley in here right now. It's so wonderful. And look at that color. Look at the vibrant purple. It's just, it's really, really nice. I love wine reductions. Again, you may have a favorite wine. Take that wine and reduce it. Sauce a piece of fish, poultry, duck, of course, beef, veal, anything. It's a healthy way to cook. Less the butter, of course. Now, again, if your family has special dietary requirements or special health parameters, you don't need to go through the butter step. You can infuse this with some olive oil or nothing at all. Just use the fresh herb with a little salt and pepper. That's it. But you can see we have a beautiful saucy consistency here. It's thick but not too thick, and it's not too runny. Again, let's do one more pat. Let's do a 1/2 pound, or 1/2 stick, I'm sorry. 1/2 pound, my heart just seized up. And there we go. You can see how quickly this melts. And again, I'm using an anodized pan, a non-stick pan, and you can see on my whisk, we have our little protecting balls on the end. Oh, modern technology. There was a chef back in the 16th century France, Escoffier, the chef of kings and the king of chefs. I can only imagine what it was like to cook back then, but he did a great job, I guess, because he is famous, isn't he? So, hot handles, but I have chef's fingers. Into the bowl. And we'll just put this over here. Thank you very much. Just a simple whisk in the freshness, the brightness of the chive and the flat leaf parsley. And that completes our sauce. It is literally as simple as that. So if you'd follow me outside, let's check those steaks. I know they're ready to be turned, and then 3 minutes later, we'll top it with our cheese, slightly melt it, bring it in, tent it, rest it, cook our asparagus, and get to the question. Okay, back to the grill. Let's melt this cheese. Like I said, just soften the cheese, not a major melt. And we'll come back out in a moment. Less than a minute. Delicious. How's this? For the best result, 1 minute on the grill, soft, but not to the point where they're unrecognizable. What I'll do while I'm waiting for my asparagus to cook, I'll tent this with some foil, and that'll allow that cheese to melt even further. So now, let's put the asparagus in the pot, cook that, and then I'll go to my question. Ask the chef. Here we go. Again, in boiling water, you can count if you'd like. You're used to counting with the private chef, riding the flavor wave. Get that stopwatch ready. This is a guess, but right around a minute in boiling water. Again, they're not pencil asparagus. They're not jumbos. They're probably medium size. So, to our question. And this question, we finally got to the gentleman. It's from Andy in Austin. Don, thank you for defining the flavor wave. Now I understand delicious. Well, thank you, Andy. Is there a seasoning combination that would allow me to stay on the flavor wave a bit past 25 seconds? Yes, it's in its experimental stage right now, Andy, but I would say if you try this, it's worked out relatively well for me for savory dishes, most sauces, most vegetables, potatoes, things like that, meats. I would say 1 part sea salt, 1 part black pepper, combined with 1/4 part cinnamon and 1/4 part nutmeg. I don't know how big a ratio you'd like to build, to have on hand, but that's, so one teaspoon salt and pepper, probably 1/4 teaspoon cinnamon and nutmeg, and that would give you that depth of flavor, that completion on the flavor wave, that little bit extra on that 3D scale, on those 3D flavor scales that I talked about. But try that. Like I said, it's still experimental, but it works. It works. And just like that, this is a favorite time for me. I love asparagus. And the only way to know if it's done, obviously, is number 1, by the color, and number 2, by the crunch. Look at that. Vibrant green. You heard the crunch? It's sweet and delicious. So, to the colander and to the plate. That sounded Shakespearean. Maybe I am a sir. Or maybe not. But you see how easy the timing is, especially when you have something stationary that's getting a little better with time, like the steak over there. So let's get all the, here we go. And again, we're going to finish this. We'll slide that over. Actually, we're ready. Look at that. Cooking, what is better than this? It's all fun. It's always friendly, especially a dinner party. I can't lose. And now I have you in my life, so it's gotten even better. Okay, again, let's add some flavor to this. So why don't, let's see, let's spread a little bit of this balsamic around, just a little splash. Again, it's going to be a nice complement to that Merlot sauce that I'll pour on those steaks in a moment. Let's drizzle it with some olive oil. Okay. Salt and pepper, as always. Oh, you can tell my fingers were wet. There's the crusty salt. And a little pepper. Excuse me for a moment. Thank you. And our delicious Merlot sauce. See, you see that consistency? See how saucy that is? It's definitely thicker than red wine. There we go. I'd say this is probably a tablespoon. It's a fancy spoon I grabbed from the drawer, but it's about, has the volume, the size of a tablespoon. Wow. Yeah, let's just, a little on the plate. Whew. It's your kitchen, it's your life. Ride the flavor wave. Eat delicious, live splendiferous. Thank you very much.